Very interesting. I see your hobbies are drinking, smoking weed, and all types of ill shit. Well, congratulations. You got yourself a job. Right on, huh?
On New Year's Day, there was an attack from an Army veteran that killed 12 Americans in New Orleans. We don't forget. This individual was radicalized by every available report by ISIS. Very strange that the federal government allowed media directly into his home. Why didn't we see this with, why didn't we get this with Matthew Thomas Crooks, who shot Trump? We never saw in Matthew Thomas Crooks' bedroom or any of his mobile devices or anything. Then, on the same day, there was another truck used in a terrorist attack by somebody who's spent 20 years in the armed forces, who is in the peak of service to the American military and government. And he blew himself up in a truck outside of Trump Tower. This individual was active duty, was working on unmanned aerial drone programs. Very strange circumstances. According to all available evidence, this guy just went nuts, but we don't know. I mean, it'd be really nice to get some type of real rock solid reporting from this. So America's already primed. This is called priming. So America's already primed with these two attacks to say, what's going on with our military? Is something wrong? Like, we love our military. I don't want this to happen. We have to talk about bad things to prevent them from happening in the future. I have many military members of my family, and I've been on the call with them, and military members will be on the show today. And I've been on the phone call, on the horn with them, like, why is this happening? And then, 24 hours ago, we watched one of our most sophisticated pieces of military equipment that exists, helicopters that can fly actually like drones. They can fly autonomously. There's a big theory about that on the internet. Why not get into it? Why not? This is what people are talking about. Who was flying this Black Hawk helicopter? Why did this Black Hawk helicopter fly directly into a commercial airline jet, upon which I frequent weekly? American Airlines is like the airline that I fly every single week. Maybe, I'm sure you've flown plenty of American Airlines flights. This one was coming from Wichita, Kansas. It was doing a relatively routine and cleared route into Ronald Reagan. And then a Black Hawk helicopter flies like right into it, and it's blaring like the sun. Here's the new footage, ladies and gentlemen, of this Black Hawk helicopter hitting this commercial flight and then crashing into the Potomac. Footage obtained by CNN. You can see the helicopter there. Pause, please. Pause. Okay. We're not here to show you disaster porn. I'm not here to do anything other than prevent this from ever happening in the future. Americans must be confident that we can travel securely for our economy to run. Americans must be able to move, and we must be able to create, and we must be able to be confident that we are safe when we're doing that. Now, there have been 150 million commercial airline flights since the last deadly commercial airline disaster in 2009. But that was just the plane malfunctioning, okay? This is what it is. This, look at the light. Obviously, you can see there's the chopper, there's the commercial airline. The commercial airliner has those big, giant, glaring, fiery lights looking like a planet in the sky. And the Apache helicopter, which was flying way too high and was flying on now we know, an unauthorized route, just goes right into it. Right into it. Okay, let's play it. It's tough to watch, man. Watch. Jeez. You know, these Apache helicopters, the purpose of these helicopters are to protect our service members inside of war zones. Again, we're going to have veterans who served our military and fought in brutal and deadly battlefields joining the program to talk about this. So I'll bring on the experts, okay? We'll bring on the experts. We'll bring on a dude who's flown hundreds of Black Hawk helicopter missions, okay? The purpose of these instruments in our American military is maneuverability. The capacity to go up, down, sideways, stop in midair. I mean, literally, like just stop. You can just hover. This is the most damning part of all of this, is that you saw none of that with this crash. You saw no adjustment or maneuverability in this, and there is in no universe the capacity for somebody to lie to me. You will not be able to lie to me or to this audience. This audience is smart, man. You will not be able to lie to this audience and to say, oh, it's just a mistake. That's not a mistake. If you get into a Tesla, what does a Tesla cost? Like 30 grand, okay? So you get into a new Tesla. Those things, it's like almost impossible to crash them because of the sensory detection capacities inside of those vehicles and virtually all vehicles that are currently driving on the road right now. You get these automatic braking, automatic stops, right? When you're coming up too fast on another car, probably your car has them. They have them in minivans. Yet you have nothing. Apparently there were 3 crew members in here. God rest their souls. And everybody who perished here. We're not trying to politicize this. We're not trying to make this red or blue issue. We're not trying to do anything other than prevent this from happening ever again. And the problem is that people are primed now. So there have been 3, and forgive me, it is what it is. There have been 3 attacks, deadly instances, okay? Let's just call them that directly involve either U.S. military veterans or literal physical active duty U.S. military implements here. There's no other way to interpret this than something went horribly, purposefully wrong here. How do you explain it? Ladies and gentlemen, how do you explain it? A former air traffic controller was on Fox News last night. And he was like, bro, they have so gutted the capacity for us to do our jobs. They have so destroyed our ability to actually prevent these kind of disasters. Apparently, the person who was supposed to be doing helicopter traffic left early at DCA. One guy was doing 2 people's jobs. This is one of the busiest airports in the world. Supervisor let air traffic controller leave shift early before DC plane crash. President Trump posting this morning, the Black Hawk helicopter was flying too high by a lot. It was far above the 200-foot limit. It's not really too complicated to understand this, is it? Donald Trump with a heater last night saying, what the hell is going on? It was a clear night and the plane was shining like the sun. How do you fly directly into it? In no universe can you explain to me that they didn't see the plane. And then the lack of maneuverability is something that's really, really scary. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, really quickly, air traffic controller. This was preventable. They've destroyed our capacity to keep Americans safe. DEI and hiring unqualified people based on their skin color or sex preference, that's what's leading to this. Here, from the source.
This is a preventable disaster. The system has been under attack due to DEI and the FAA bowing to wokeness since 2010, since the Obama administration. The lack of staffing is directly attributable to the Obama administration terminating the lists of eligible, well-trained air traffic control statements in 36 universities across the country in 2013 because they were too white. The FAA also, at the same time, implemented an immunity program. So you think you're seeing legitimate statistics, you're not. In the old days, before 2010, the immunity program, if an air traffic controller got 2 airplanes too close, too many times, they would be decertified and retrained. Now,
they just got rid of us because we were too white, says the dude who's been an air traffic controller for 50 years. That guy has flown planes in, thousands and thousands and thousands of flights. That dude's been up in the tower keeping Americans safe. That dude probably called one of your jets landing. He's stationed out of Chicago. I've flown into. How many times have you flown into Chicago? People go to Chicago. I've gone to Chicago a bunch of times. That guy is keeping me safe and you safe and your children safe. That dude says they got rid of all of my coworkers because they were white. What country do we live in? Do we live in South Africa? Are we in Rwanda? What country is this? These people are demons. They want something like this to happen. This is what it is. Listen to Pete Hegseth this morning breaking a lot of news on Fox. Pete Hegseth this morning's like, we didn't even realize how bad it got in the FAA with diversity hires and enjoy early retirement. Let's go.
So I don't know exactly how the staffing occurred in that particular air traffic control tower. And it sounds like there was a shortage, and the investigation will tell us more about that. But the environment around which we choose pilots or air traffic controllers, as the president pointed out correctly yesterday, better be the highest possible standard, the best of the best who are managing, multiple flights. I mean, a flight a minute and managing radio traffic. I think the closest analogy to military service, guys, is pilots or air traffic controllers. I don't care what background they come from, what their race is, what their gender is, if they're rich or they're poor. I just need them to be good at their job because I need my flight to land safely. The same thing applies to the Defense Department, to our military. I don't care about your background, your gender, or your skin color. I want the best. And that's why when the president says merit-based and colorblind, he's exactly right across government. So he's correct to point out at the FAA or in our flights, it should not be about anything other than excellence. That's it. Excellence. Right. I don't care the color of the skin of the pilot on my plane or in the air traffic control. But we've, for too long under Biden, cared about those things, emphasized those things, pushed real or perceived quotas. At the Defense Department, we're ending all of that. It's been made very clear across all of our services and commands. It is merit only. And that means we'll get the best of the best. And that's what our taxpayers and the American people expect and deserve. And in the business of warfighting, which the Defense Department is in, if you don't have the best of the best, you lose people. And that's why this is so important.
Can I get some Pete Hegseth? We're in communication with Pete Hegseth's office. Expect us to be soon at the Pentagon. We'll be... we're working on something really cool for the program to be doing because we're massive fans of this. Look at this. This is Pete Hegseth. Please go watch this video. We don't have time to play it right now, but please go watch this video. When was the last time you saw the Pentagon do something this transparent? This bro is just sitting there at his desk like we do every morning. And he's like straight up just flipped his camera around doing a selfie video. Like, here's what's going on in your country. Here's this, here's that, here's evidence, here's evidence. I'm going to read to you what's actually happening. Can I get Pete Hegseth's in the chat, please? I know we have an emoji for Pete Hegseth. And just a shout out to become a member, please. You get custom emojis, so many exciting, special, like little things that we're going to be doing on the program. Give me some Pete Hegseth's in the chat. Yeah, I see him rolling through. I'm so proud of this dude, man. Check it out. Pete Hegseth with his little American flag jacket. That's right. Look at this, bro. He's just sitting there from the desk of the department. He has Dwight Eisenhower oil painting behind him from his Defense Department desk. And he's like, here's what's happening with this mishap. Good for him, man. Good for you, dude. Such huge fans of Pete. Way to go. President Trump, angry. It's the first time President Trump's been angry in the White House watching this. Who wants to see 70 Americans? Actually, we found out there were Chinese nationals. There were Russians. Who wants to see an international incident that was totally preventable? Nobody wants to see a single death ever. President Trump really angry about this yesterday. Trump's FAA executive order will replace all employees not hired on merit. You must cut out the cancer to keep the patient healthy, to save the patient. Here we go.
It is a betrayal of the American people to say that you are going to prioritize the hiring of people with severe intellectual defects to serve at the Federal Aviation Administration, the entity responsible for ensuring that every single passenger over American airspace safely takes off, safely flies, and safely lands. And again, what it does over a period of time to an agency is that it prevents that agency from developing the new systems, the new protocols, the new programs, the new priorities to constantly adapt and evolve airline safety. Because instead, you're always playing catch up. You're always playing cleanup. You're trying to put out fires. You're trying to stop things from falling apart. You can't build. You cannot learn. You cannot grow because you're not hiring based solely on qualification and competence. They have been playing games with America's public safety in a way that is unconscionable. And President Trump's made clear that he's not only, and he issued another order today, he's not only installing the highest standards possible, but the order President Trump issued today tells the Secretary of Transportation to review every hiring decision at the FAA over the last 4 years. And where someone was not hired based on merit, qualification, or competence, then that person needs to be replaced.
Love Stephen Miller. Guest on this program many times. Looking forward to having him and Alina join. You know, they'll be joining from the White House now, right? They're only 10 days in, so give us a second. Give them a second. They're drinking from a fire hose. But they're only 10 days in. They'll be joining from the White House lawn now. It's freaking awesome. President Trump following through. President Trump angry. First time I've seen him pissed was at his press conference yesterday. Now, we were live for Kash Patel. Obviously, you knew where we were going to be. We're very vocal about this. Kash is our boy, all right? We're going to get our boy in. So we were live for 6.5 hours with Kash Patel, and we weren't breaking for nobody. But Donald Trump was angry at his press conference yesterday and then followed through with an executive order. Here we go.
We have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA administrator, in this case, acting FAA administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they're being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir. Elevating competence over everything else instead of the DEI policies that were pursued by the Biden administration.
I think everyone understands that. And Obama.
Yes.
Both of them. Okay, but Biden much worse. Not even a contest. What they've done is just crazy in so many other ways.
We're about evidence on this program. We physically show it to you. We do our research for hours and days sometimes, like to ensure that we have all of the physical evidence and get a load of what we were able to find in the old C-SPAN archives. Way back in the ancient times, ladies and gentlemen, we were able to pluck a little clip here for your viewing displeasure of a Joe Biden nominee for the FAA. This was the guy who was supposed to be in charge of running the Federal Aviation Administration, who was forced to withdraw. You can see here. When is this dated? 2023. All right, so this would be within recent history. Who was forced to withdraw after a setback, according to NPR. Let's go ahead and check the setback. What exactly was the setback here? Senator Ted Cruz asking the questions.
You ever flown a plane?
Thank you for the question, Senator. No, I have never flown a plane.
So you weren't a military pilot or a commercial airline pilot?
No, Senator.
Have you ever worked for an airline?
No, Senator.
Have you ever worked as an air traffic controller?
No, Senator.
You ever worked for a company that manufactures airplanes?
No, Senator.
You ever worked for a company that fixes airplanes?
No, Senator.
FAA administrator is a specialized position. I'm not qualified to be FAA administrator. I have no idea how to fly a plane. No one in their right mind would put me in charge of aviation safety because I don't have that experience. I suspect most of the members of this committee are in a similar position. The American people, when they think about aviation safety, when they think about, I played in this committee, a Southwest Airlines and FedEx plane almost colliding at Austin's airport.
They want an FAA administrator who knows why those planes crash and knows how to fix it to keep them safe. And with all respect, Mr. Washington, it gives no comfort to the flying public that their pilot might be a transgendered witch, but doesn't actually know how to prevent the plane from crashing into the ground and killing them. I believe your record is woefully lacking. And in fact, you have zero aviation safety experience.
A transgender witch is a perfect way to explain how the Biden administration hired. I could show you some various footage and imagery from the Joe Biden administration for who Joe Biden hired. Everyone from Sam Brinton to Rachel Levine to the gay porn that was being shot inside of the Senate hearing rooms. Hope they got a good squeegee and cleaner. Hope they have great maids. Hope you got plenty of Lysol in the Senate. Been watching a lot of Senate hearings. That's the thing that always shoots through my brain, and I'm very angry that it does, because I really don't want to see that stuff. What a hellscape we have gone through of just psychotic and suicidal diversity hiring. This guy who had never flown a plane, who has zero experience with aviation, is to be put in charge of all plane flights in all of America? Now, many people are saying, well, President Trump, where's the proof that he's a DEI hire, that you use DEI in the FAA? There's so much proof. We have so many clips of FAA administrators under Joe Biden saying it's so important to have equity. Equity? What the hell are you talking? Equity means equal outcomes. It means you're going to have a quota system based on your skin color and who you like to have sex with for how your planes will be landing and if your children will fly either safely and get there or if they will perish. And we are heartbroken as a father, as a young father, to see some of the imagery of this plane, of some of the individuals who lost their lives. Some of them were small children. Some of them were little children. I want to play you the final result here, and then we're going to jump over to Senator Johnson. But this is the final result of Joe Biden's policies. And I will not tolerate, we've been nuking people and forcing them to delete their accounts, and we have the power to do that, and we muscularly use it. I will not tolerate people blaming President Trump, who's 10 days into an administration, for the corrupt rot and failures of this suicidal worldview. Transgender witches. That's exactly right, Senator Cruz. Here's what it sounds like when your plane goes flying into Washington, D.C. in a military helicopter, effectively targets it, and they smash into each other. Here we go.
25, get the CRJ in flight. Pass 25, pass line to CRJ. American 472, Washington, 1 star, 3217.
Did you see that?
Delta 32, sorry. I don't know if you caught earlier what happened, but there was a collision on the approach in the 33. We're going to be shutting down operations for the indefinite future. If you want to go back to the gate.
Yeah, we witnessed the whole thing. If you need any information from us.
Oh, so just a bunch of gasps, huh? No one ordering the helicopter to, hover in place since it can do that? Since the helicopter can geometrically move around in all three dimensions? Nobody's ordering that? Nobody said anything to the helicopter? You want to know why? Because the helicopter pilot was not informed, was flying way too high, flying on an unauthorized path, and the person who was supposed to be directing the helicopters was allowed to leave early. Sick. Truly. I mean, it makes our blood boil, ladies and gentlemen. Senator Ted Cruz asking if there will be how many transgender witches there will be in control towers all across America. Maybe the great senator from Wisconsin, can answer that question. A man named Ron Johnson, a strong ally of this program and a person who speaks truth fearlessly in the Senate, and has been doing so with the confirmation of RFK Jr., joins the show live now. Senator, thank you for being on the program. This has been a wild week in Washington, D.C. Nobody was expecting this, and since this is top of mind with the FAA, perhaps you can explain, like, from your position, how did this happen and what reforms need to be made?
I'd say bureaucratic incompetence across the board. You know, why do they have any flight path of helicopters anywhere near Reagan National Airport, whether it's at the right altitude or not? I mean, that's just insane to do that. We know that the air traffic system has been broken. It's antiquated. We know it's not properly staffed. You know, why didn't the Biden administration do anything about it? Yeah. So no, these are problems that have been going on for years. People have known about it. But again, that's why I'm not a fan of government. It's completely incompetent. You know, really under anybody's management, you cannot properly manage a $7 trillion a year entity and expect anything better than this, probably. It's sad. We've got to shrink the size of government so we can manage what we have a whole lot better. Because right now it's completely out of control.
I will say, if given the dark circumstances, at the very least, the Trump administration is being transparent, is telling us the truth, is like coming forward with an enormous amount of information, and we can rest assured that we're going to get to the bottom of what actually happened here. Final question on this subject, Senator: what do you believe actually happened?
I really don't know. It's completely inexplicable to me. It sure looked like that helicopter just purposely ran right into that airliner. Was the pilot? Did they close his eyes for? You know, again, you can't explain it. How can you not see an airplane when you are flying a helicopter close to a international airport? How can you not be looking all over the place, much less like right in front of you? You cannot explain this.
Yes. You know, Senator, we played earlier in the show the camera, Earth Cam, from the top of the Kennedy Center. I'm sure a place that you've been to many times. And you can see this wide expanse for 67 seconds. The two aircraft fly towards each other. It's a very long period of time to notice a giant glaring light in the middle of the sky. I'm no pilot, but it seems like people's lives are being played with here. And it's very disturbing.
We need to know a lot about that helicopter pilot. We need to figure out who that is and what his background was, or her. Yeah. You know, I don't know anything about the pilot at all.
That's right. Well, sir, you are on various committees, and one that caused bombshell hearing this week was RFK Jr., and we really appreciated your questions and the questions on the side of the Republican dais that were about chronic health and our children. But your colleagues on the other side were obsessed with RFK's onesies, baby onesies, and of trying to protect vaccine manufacturers. And you've been such a all-star in the Senate for talking about America's health, and one of the few senators that actually is really doing something to talk about chronic disease in this country. It must have been a breath of fresh air to hear RFK talk about it. How do you think that hearing went? First off, will RFK get confirmed?
I'm pretty optimistic he will. I think he did a great job in that hearing against all the hostility of the Democrats. Again, that's what I was reacting to. I'm kind of lower down in seniority on the Finance Committee, so I sat and listened to that vitriol for about an hour and a half before I finally was able to make my comments, just talking about the fact that this is something the American people desperately want in a completely nonpartisan manner. And I have to admit, one of the things I was thinking as I listened to all that vitriol coming from Democrats is, had Kamala Harris actually, accepted Bobby Kennedy's outreach hand, because he reached out to both President Trump and Kamala Harris, you would have had a completely different hearing. Democrats would have been completely, in favor of RFK Jr. I would have been in favor of him because I know him. I think I know what's in his heart. I know he wants to focus on finding the causes of, solving the mystery of chronic illness, of autism. That's what the American people want as well, in as I said, a completely nonpartisan basis.
So when you heard, this clip went thermonuclear, Senator, when you heard him call out Bernie for taking big pharma money, did you go, holy smokes, like that's a heater right there? Bernie got very upset about that. You're the #1 recipient of big pharma dollars in the Senate, which I think shocked many Bernie bros, Senator.
Well, that happened in the next day's hearing with the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee. But we knew that ahead of time. There were plenty of reports on X and other platforms, showing all the millions of dollars of big pharma money that the Democrats have received.
It does seem relatively disqualifying, at least from a moral perspective, because Elizabeth Warren had a meltdown over him not suing vaccine companies. And that was her line of questioning that caused this viral moment where, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine companies, and I won't agree to that. That's kind of my job, actually. And it seems very fraudulent. It seems like they're definitely dancing for dollars.
Well, let's face it, Democrat Party's in the back pocket of the trial lawyers. They've been in the back pocket for decades, and now she's criticizing a lawyer who has sued corporate interests and taken a contingency fee from it. That is their bread and butter. That is what funds the Democrat Party, is exactly that kind of trial lawyer activity. So again, I'm not a fan of lawyers or the judicial process, but I've certainly come to understand that you need an adversarial system. And you certainly need an adversarial system when it comes to science. You need skeptics. You need to examine what evidence, what data we get from research studies. When you pay for science, and this is how it's been corrupted, when you pay for science nowadays, you get exactly the result you're looking for. That's not true science. That's corruption.
So I know that there were two other bombshell hearings. I know the Senate's been working overtime right now, but two that, of course, we focused on yesterday, Tulsi and Kash Patel. Can you give us sort of the handicaps on where the Senate stands? Apparently, John Cornyn is now announcing he's going to be voting for Tulsi Gabbard. That's a big movement in the right direction. Kash and Tulsi, how did they do, Senator?
Well, first of all, what all Trump nominees are doing is they're showing that they are intelligent people. They are articulate, they're unflappable, and they're fighters. But that actually is revealed in these hearings. That's why these hearings are important. You get to understand the mettle of the individual that is going to be running these agencies, these very difficult problems they're going to have to deal with, like Sean Duffy. Not even a day on the job, and now Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, is having to deal with just a horrific tragedy that should not have happened. And he's got a big mess to clean up on his hands in terms of the FAA and air traffic control. Yes. So that's across the board. The Democrats have left so many large piles of messes all over this country. It's going to take a while to clean them up. It's going to take more than one term, quite honestly.
Yes. So just a final question here, Senator, to burrow in, because I know this is your pet project, oversight of the FBI. Arguably, I don't know if it's you or Chuck Grassley, Senator. I'm not sure which is the bigger thorn in the paw of the FBI and the Weaponized Justice Department. But nonetheless, you've been such a truth seeker for Matthew Thomas Crooks, figuring out what happened with the Trump assassinations. You've gotten nothing. You've been stonewalled and blackballed the entire way through. Will Kash get this position, and what will be the first thing you ask of him?
Well, maybe the first thing, now that we've uncovered the corruption of the whole January 6th persecution of Donald Trump, yes. We have the same thing going on in Wisconsin. We've got an attorney general who basically said that the Trump's lawyer involved in that case did nothing wrong, and now he's trying to put him in jail. So I want the communications between the Justice Department, the corrupt FBI, and Josh Kaul, Wisconsin Attorney General, who's now, again, prosecuting somebody for doing something he ruled a couple of years ago was perfectly legal in terms of coming up with an alternate slate of electors. So there's corruption. It's not at the federal level, but it also goes back down to state level. So that's why I'm very interested in our current oversight letters, showing that corruption of how that FBI individual in the FBI really was the one who prompted that prosecution of Donald Trump as it relates to January 6th.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be whistling Dixie when Kash is in. What's the over-under on Kash getting in? Is this going to happen, Senator?
Oh, I think so. Again, he showed himself very capable. And again, his main goal is he has to restore integrity and credibility of the FBI. He'll give us the information. Congress will do our investigations.
Great. It's incredible to hear. I don't know how anybody could vote. Possibly. It seems like career suicide to vote against Tulsi and Kash after the performances. Also, RFK, I think, did so honorable and did such a great job. Courage under fire. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see more of it in the Senate, you got to follow one of the true actual fighters and truth tellers, the great Ron Johnson. Follow him right here. Almost 700,000 followers on X. You're viral, Senator.
Not quite, but I'm getting there.
You're an influencer, Senator. Thank you so much for all of your work that you do. Godspeed.
Have a great day.